Rastov, YouTube, awesome.
Hey, what's up YouTube? Rastov here and welcome to a very special video series. Today I'm going to be sharing some stories with all of you about my mum, who is very near and dear to my heart, and it was her birthday yesterday and I'd planned on recording and releasing the videos yesterday, but it was actually a little bit harder than I thought. She passed away last year from lung cancer in September, and this is our first birthday without her. Her birthday was always a really special event, you know, like she was a kid in a candy store when it came to presents, and just, you know, face would light up every time, you know, we went around and did something special for her. So I'm just going to share some of the stories that are special to me through a platform that has been special to me in kind of helping work through the loss of her. You know, YouTube's been a really good outlet, so I thought, why not pile on some positive stories onto a positive outlet and just see how we go. So I'm planning to just 3 short videos. Well, I don't know how short they'll be, but 3 stories, 3 videos, and yeah, we'll kick into it while we play some Crash Bandicoot. So my first experience with Crash Bandicoot would have been when I first got my PlayStation. My mum bought it for me way back in the day, so back when it was just the PSX. And she bought me the PlayStation, and she bought me the Hercules game, and also Crash Bandicoot. The first thing I did was, you know, recently watched the Hercules movie, so jumped in and started jamming on the Hercules game. Now, she really wanted to know what it was like, and she demanded that I let her have a go. Now, I don't know if you ever played that Hercules game, but it was a little bit challenging. Not the easiest game in the world, so, you know, she struggled quite a bit and decided that it wasn't the game for her. So she asked me to play Crash Bandicoot instead. And so I did. You know, I jumped on Crash and we started, you know, she was watching intently while I made my way through the first island, and it was a great time. You know, like you know, I'd never really played games before up until that point, and I was hooked. Like, it was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen, the best thing I'd ever done. And yeah, so she was with me on that journey. Ooh. Oh, they've added a new level for this, haven't they? So she was with me on that journey, and she asked me if she could have a go. She wanted to see what it was like to play herself. And it was almost love at first express, you know, like as soon as she pretty much jumped on and started playing, she was kind of hooked on it. To the point where, you know, every time I died, she'd be like, cool, my turn. Cool, my turn. And there was a couple of different times where she would nudge me and just to kill me so it would be her turn. You know, and she really enjoyed it. And I can remember one night we were playing, I'd finally beaten the final boss on the first island, right? So, and then I'd worked my way to a couple of different you know, the first 2 levels of the second island. And I remember watching her just looking at the clock, looking at her watch often, and I didn't really understand it. Every time I looked at her, she'd be, you know, looking at the clock. And then finally she was just like, "Oh, time to go to bed, James. Looks like it's time to go to bed." And I was like, "Oh, come on, 5 more minutes, Mum, 5 more minutes." She's like, no, you've got school tomorrow, so you're gonna have to go to bed. So I reluctantly went to bed, and you know, it took me ages to fall asleep because all I could think about was, you know, playing Crash Bandicoot, playing Crash Bandicoot. Now, normally before school, it was a massive chore for me to like get ready and go. Like, I hated it. I waited till the last possible minute, and then that's when I would go and that's when I would get ready for school and go. But I had a plan. I was like, all right, I really want to play this game. I had so much fun. I'm going to get up, and as soon as I wake up, I'm going to get ready, and then I'm going to go down and I'm going to be able to play Crash for, you know, 30 minutes before I leave for school. And so it was like clockwork. I woke up in the morning, and it was like Terminator, just like straight out of bed. And, you know, got ready, clothes on, school bag ready. I think I even packed my lunch. Like, I think I just put like bread and an apple in my bag, and that was kind of it. I was like, nah, screw food, man. Crash is life. So get all that, ate my breakfast, boosted downstairs. Now, what normally would have happened is my mum, I would normally play in my room until I had to go to school. And my mum would come in and, you know, be like, all right, time to get ready for school, and then we're going to go. So she must have checked the time and realized that, oh, it's almost time, you know, time to get, you know, time for James to wake up and go to get ready for school. Now, we lived in a 2-storied house, and my bedroom was on, you know, the top level, and down, you know, and there was a staircase that went down, and as you got to the bottom of the stairs, there was a, like, the garage was to the left, and there was like another living space to the right. And on the far side of the living space, there was the office room, which had the PlayStation and another computer in it. So I didn't know my mum was in there. And so as I made it to the bottom of the stairs and turned into the living space, she must have realized that it was time to go. So it was sort of like I came in this way and she came out of the... we both just like stopped in the doorway, her in the office and me in the living space. And I just remember looking at her, and she just stared at me, and I stared at her. And then, you know, we stared at each other for like a minute. Just, no one said a word. Not a word. Right? And then she's like, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I've gotten ready for school. I'm all ready to go. I'm going to go play some Crash Bandicoot before I go to school, you know? I'm like, I really want to play. And she was like, no, you can't do that. I was like, but why? Like, I'm all ready to go. And so she says, oh, you can't play video games before school. You'll, you know, your brain won't work. You won't be able to learn. No. So you can't do that. He's like, go upstairs and play in your room until we're ready to go. And so I was like, oh, please. She's like, no, upstairs. So she sends me upstairs. I reluctantly go and like half-ass play in my room until it was time to go. And all day, like, I was just obsessing over it. Like, we had to write a short story in class. And basically, my short story was how excited I was to go home and play Crash. Like, I'd planned it all out. I knew what I was going to do. Now, normally what would happen is, at the end of the day, we would walk home. And there was this... Well, we called it a swamp, but it was more like just a small little marsh area that went from, like, where the school was just to the street that we lived. And... so we went through that. Nowadays, you probably wouldn't send kids through there because, you know, it's probably dangerous. But back in the day, it was like, yeah, screw it. There's a path. You guys, you know, don't go in the water and you'll be fine. But today, Mum picked us up from school. I think she'd, left work early and come to pick us up. And on the car ride home, she's like, oh, would you like to watch a movie when we get home? And I was like, oh, no, I just want to play some Crash. Like, oh, how about we do this? We'll go get some food. No, I want to go home and play Crash. I was obsessed. I wanted to play it. It was the best thing I'd ever done in my life, and I couldn't wait. Nothing else mattered. Finally, you know, we get home, and straight through the garage, just as I'm about to get into our living space downstairs, she's like, no, take your bag upstairs. Now, I was starting to get annoyed. This had been going on all day. All day. Right? She'd crash blocked me in the morning, and she was trying to crash block me now. I just couldn't understand why. So I boosted upstairs, dropped my bag, and then was about to go down the stairs again. She's like, no, come and tell me how your day at school was. Come and tell me what you did. So I was like, I went to school, I wrote a story about how much I want to play Crash. Finally, she lets me go downstairs, except she follows me. She follows me. So I sit down, turn on the PlayStation, and it's that glorious PlayStation sound. Nostalgia every time you hear it. I log on, and you gotta remember, when I'd gone to bed, I was 2 levels in to the second island. And I log on, and I didn't notice that the save screen was different. I couldn't understand where I was. And it turns out that I was on the first level of the last island. And I was just sitting there confused, like, where am I? And you know how you can like run back. So I run back through all these levels back to where I was. And I was just so confused. How did this happen? And I look up and Mum's standing in the door and she's like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't know. Like, where did my levels go? I didn't do this. And she was like, well, I kind of played a little bit last night and I kind of got carried away. And I didn't end up going to bed until... She'd stayed up till like 2 in the morning or something like that playing Crash Bandicoot. And then in the morning had gotten up and was playing again. So she had just like blitzed through the second island, blitzed through the next part, and then just like stopped at the at the first level on the last island. I think she tried to beat it and like died or something like that, so she kind of just like left it. And I was heartbroken. It was like the first time, my first ever feeling of like true betrayal. I just looked at it and I just said, "What? Why? Why did you do this to me?" And she's like, I just really enjoyed playing it. And so, I didn't really get that. I didn't really want to go back and play all the levels I had missed now, because it was like they'd already been beaten. I felt like it had been taken away from me. And so I tried to, start kicking off on the first level of the last island. And of course, all the skills that you need to, beat the last island, you build up throughout the first part of the game and the second part, and, all the way up until that point. And I couldn't beat that level. I just couldn't beat it. And she's like, "Can do it for you if you want." I was like, "Don't talk to me." Don't talk to me. You ruined my life. You beat my Crash Bandicoot levels. How dare you? And she just kind of like laughed and she said, "No, seriously, I can beat it for you if you want." I was just like stared at her. I was like, Hector Salamanca from Breaking Bad staring at Gus Fring, just, And it was like the ultimate betrayal. And for years, I never went back and played the other levels. So I had no idea what was from like the third level of the second island up until the last island. I just had no idea. Until I finally ended up playing it again. And God, it was hard case. And so she eventually... you know, she stopped playing because I think she realized that, I think she had realized that it was sort of like hurting me. Oh, wow. Okay. So I just had to concentrate for a second. So yeah, so she eventually kind of stopped playing until we got Crash 2. And I remember playing Crash 2 and she was like, "Oh, that looks fun." And I just went, "Does it? Does it look fun?" And then she, you know, she went from feeling bad about it to being like, "Hey, I paid for it, okay? I'm gonna play it if I want to play it." And you know what? As an adult, I could totally respect that. I would probably do the same thing. But, yeah, and so for like the rest of, you know, our lives together, anytime a friend of mine would come over to hang out, all into my teenage years and even into my 20s, anytime we were talking about games or anything gaming related, she'd be like, "Do you know I used to play Crash Bandicoot?" Yeah, I used to play Crash Bandicoot, and it was like this weird, awkward flex. Eh? Like she'd be like, "And yeah, I was better than him at it. Yep, I was so good. I was so good." Daddy cried. Yeah, that happened. So good. And I would always just be like, "Oh, come on, Mom, stop it. You're embarrassing me." But to her credit, she smoked it. Now, years later, when I'm living in the house I'm currently living in, before she had gotten sick, she'd come over. And, you know this remake that they've made it, well, I don't know if you know it, it's got, it's like got full circle joystick now. So whereas before it was just like full directional like that, you know, you couldn't go full circle joystick. So she's like, you know, we'd had fish and chips for dinner, and she's like, so James, are you having problems speeding that level? Do you want some help? I know it's been like, you know, I know it's been like 20 years, 20 something years, but I can beat it for you if you want. And so she didn't realize. So I was like, "You know what, Mum? Here you go. Hand her the controller." Hand her the controller, and I put her on the second bridge level. I was like, "Go on, beat it for me, Mum." Because I tell you what, when this game first came out again, and I played it on PlayStation, I could not get past that bridge because you know, back in the day, smart little genius James, when I played it again, figured out that you could just run along the side. It's a lot harder to do that now without the, you know, with the full circle turning. So I give it to her, and about 20 lives later, she like throws the controller back at me, and she's like, "Well, I was good at it back in the day." And so that concludes story number 1 on our Remembering Mum series, little mini series. So I'm going to be back very shortly with story number 2, but I hope you've enjoyed. And if you're out there watching, Mum, I love you, and I know that the whole world's gonna know how good you were now, so I'll catch you later. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe.